Okay, let's call the workshop to order. I believe the first thing on the agenda is Medelia sanitation.
Right.
So just to give a
Yep.
background on what all happened or how this all came to be is we sent out a notice in the utility bills that went out at the 1st of April. And in your packet tonight you have that notice. And we received quite a few calls, and I know there's been a couple conversations throughout the town in regards to the notice. And Lisa is here tonight just to kind of give us a background of everything and give us a visual on what is needed or wanted.
Real quick,
Yeah.
when we say quite a few calls, how many are we talking?
Well, I don't know how many you
I've
received.
had 2 at my office, and I don't know how many they've had.
No, about 5 or 6.
Okay, so in a town of almost 2,400 people, we're talking about 7 phone calls.
But
Just throwing that out there.
I know, but I know there's been a lot of talk. I received a call at 7 o'clock this morning that an individual was going around the neighborhood explaining something that wasn't what it is. So really, I want Lisa here tonight to show what is actually been stated in this notice, so we all can see with our eyes. So when we are out in the community, that we can emphasize what is requested.
Tracking that totally, and I appreciate it. I completely agree. I'm just saying, I think we have to put this in a little bit of context.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
sorry.
I will admit that I was confused, but I did not call you. But when I read it, I will admit that I was like, what?
So
What's that
we
mean?
are
Yeah.
doing this presentation for all the ones that did not call us.
Yeah, who didn't
But
call.
have been out in the
But they have no
community,
idea.
not really understanding it. So I believe that this visual tonight for everybody should clear up a few
Yeah,
of the
it should-
questions.
It should
Like,
help.
we should really take pictures.
Oh, boy, okay.
Honestly, take pictures and put them in the paper so people will
Okay.
understand.
I'm
Visuals
gonna
are
go here.
good.
All right. Okay, so did you give them
Yep,
this info?
everybody has
Okay,
that.
Yep.
all right. So you have the background on here. So 71 it started, we had the tipping fee right away, and then, the very next year added in a mileage fee. So that stayed in place for 20 years. In the 90s, the state of Minnesota got involved in every community, and they wanted fair trash pricing for everybody. So they told communities, you should really look at the by the bag pricing. So in Medelia, that was implemented in 1991. And it was an effort to make sure that the people that had the most trash paid the most. Usually the little old lady with the hardly any trash, that is fair to her, she pays the least. Okay? So that's been in effect for all these years. Slowly, every year, it gets a little bit worse. So people are taking a can, this is like a 30-gallon can, okay? So I know all of you are driving around, you see what size of cans people have. Some are this, some are this, some are ones that should be tipped with the cart that are super heavy. There's every single thing you can imagine. So in an effort to get back to what the fair trash pricing was supposed to be, we sent out the notice, okay? So that's why we did it. So what happens when our crew comes up to a can, obviously sticker, that's the easiest, tear it off. A lot of times part of it sticks, takes a while, you gotta get it off, some's on the ground, okay, we finally get that off. These are the more tricky ones. We have a lot of knives on our trucks, so then we gotta cut these off so we can make sure we get the sticker off. Okay, then that gets thrown out. Or, I do have to admit, it's been very windy, so people are tying their bags on really tight, but this is pretty common. Then they have to get out their knife, make sure the can's steady, and get it cut off, okay, throw that away. All right, it's kind of a pain, as you can see, versus rolling up to a can, take a bag out, throw it in the truck. So much better, so much easier for the crew. All this bag stuff just takes a ton of time. So we're trying to get away from it and get back to what it was supposed to be like. Okay, any questions on that?
What was the difference of size and bags from 91 till now?
91, it's always been the 30-gallon can, 30-gallon bags. So it's always been these. And they've always been orange. Yeah. So that hasn't changed at all.
So does that bag fit that can?
No.
No,
This,
the reason I asked that question is because one of the things, I didn't even think about this until the notice went out.
yeah,
Is there are some pretty big cans out there that people are filling with multiple other kinds of garbage bags and just tying one bag around it and calling it good,
that's right.
which really gets away from
That's,
what we
yes.
intended to do.
Very far away. So the best thing anyone can do is actually put their trash in the bag, put it on the curb if you want, or put it in a can. If you put it in a bag, an orange bag, it doesn't matter what size your can is. Okay? Because we know that, okay, that's 30 gallons, you filled that up, you tied it, we know that's what it is, we're gonna take it every time. All right? It's more like this can, heaped up, one bag on there, and all of a sudden the crew throwing all that in for one bag. So the fair trash pricing, totally gone, not in effect at all anymore. Okay? So, you guys all know, typical day, start at 7, we expect the trash to be out by then. We go up and down every street. If someone doesn't have it out, and they call, and they admit that they didn't have it out there, we will go back and get it. If you call and say, I had it out, and you really didn't, it's pretty unlikely that the crew's gonna go, make a special trip to go back, okay? It's gotta be out there at 7 so everybody, we can pick it up at any time. So from Medilia, when the truck is full, goes to the Ponderosa landfill. That's in Mankato. So in 1993, that's when that changed for Medilia. We used to have our own landfill for Watonwan County off the Hammond Highway. When that closed, that's when the additional fee went into effect to pay for the trash then that we have to take out of the county to pay for over there. So that's the two fees that are wrapped up in the garbage pricing right now. We're looking at the rolling trash receptacles. It's, they will range, on here I have 200, they'll range anywhere in price from 200 to 500 to get a can. That's the poly cans with the rolling wheels and ones that then you can either use a sidearm truck and lift it in, or you have a cart tipper on the back of your truck. And then that takes a person to roll it over there, hook it on, and it gets lifted in. To get that truck, that's about $250,000. So that's a big deal for us. If we decide we're gonna go that way, that's a big investment, and we wanna make sure we can make that happen. So, Chris, would you like to record for me on the board right there?
Oh, great.
How about some, what do you think would be the pros of having the rolling carts?
I don't know if we'll ever stop people from parking or piling stuff over the top and not having the lid down.
Okay,
Because as you see, the recycling goes out. You know, there are some in town that have 3 and 4 cans now, and those, they can't get the lid shut. And I don't know if they're generating that much recyclable every month. Are they running a business out of their house?
I don't know.
But even if they fill that garbage can like that, but it's filled with those orange bags, it becomes that much easier to take care of the problem as it sits right now. So you still gotta pull them out, but the problem that I see, and I didn't notice this again until the notice came out, was how many people are filling something bigger than that, and then just tying one orange bag on it and calling it good. I never noticed that before. Since this has come up, I've noticed that a lot. Just driving to work today, saw it twice.
So did you check to see what would weigh or what was in there?
No.
I mean, I got a bigger one than that, sometimes I have one bag in. And if it's full, I'll tie 2 bags on it.
No, but these were.
Pros, no more bags, number 1.
Okay,
I think the other pro is, and I don't know who else's household is necessarily like mine, but by the time you take all your recyclables out, the majority of what I'm throwing in the actual garbage is food waste,
waste.
is, you know,
Yep.
stuff that isn't light and isn't
correct.
fluffy. It's not like
Yeah.
I'm throwing pillows away. 40 pounds, I mean, I'll tear right through those bags.
Yeah,
with
Those
a
bags
normal-
don't hold 40 pounds.
That's what I mean.
That's exactly what.
They don't. Pros,
So,
I mean-
weight, I
Weight.
guess?
wait,
Right.
I
Okay.
don't know, is that how you list it?
yeah. Like it just says right here, 40 pounds per
But
bag.
if I had a wheeled cart, well, I could throw, 3 weeks worth of kitchen garbage into that wheeled cart and be able to wheel it to the edge of the curb and have it disposed. And it might be 6 bags, but I'm not the one
Am
that's
I
picking
right?
it up either.
so,
So that wheeled cart might have,
No.
if.
pros he wants, weight doesn't matter.
Right, the weight would
Weight
not be
doesn't
an
matter.
issue,
So
the,
that's a pro.
That's,
so,
yep.
so the wheeled cart might have hundred
Yeah, I
and fifty
think-
pounds of garbage in it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Not a pro, the town doesn't look so trashy.
I
With
just-
all these rogue garbage cans and bags laying out on the curb in the middle of winter, I'd say that's no. I'm gonna keep. I think I can get a few more. Somebody come up with a con. I want a con on there.
Well, I think.
I'm sure Lisa's
Well,
con
I
is the
think-
cost
I don't
of
care.
it.
I would like.
Well,
I'm
would-
gonna
I would
throw
say-
Because I'm
in
gonna tell you
con.
what, there ain't no cons. We know where we're
But
going.
what would I mean,
What's that?
breaking this down, what would the average price?
There's
to,
a cost.
There's a
There's
cost
To have
of
one.
putting
To
thousand
There's
consumer
cost
fee.
to
Okay.
How
have
long does it
all
take
the-
to,
Corey, that's a great
decompose
question.
one of them
You know,
orange bags
Yep.
that have been thrown in
Does the
since
little old
nineteen
lady wanna pay
ninety-three?
us 50
1,000
bucks,
years?
75
That's
bucks
right.
a month for garbage?
So typically, so I
You knew
need to
this was
read,
gonna go this way.
no,
You should have known
So
it.
what is the difference between an orange bag and a black bag?
No,
Decomposition.
no, we're not.
Because a
trying to
black
get
bag
away
ain't
from
gotta worry about ripping.
You went down the road of decomposition.
I'm going on the because I'm putting my bags in and their bag.
Okay.
So then you can get a sticker.
Well, they don't like that either because they gotta use a knife to pull the
it.
sticker
Yeah, but
out.
you stick.
No, you
the-
put
You
that-
I
put
have
the
a
sticker around the top of the
I
bag.
have a smoking great idea. Okay?
Okay.
32-gallon garbage can. Let's figure out a way to mark it permanently so you don't even have to have a bag and you don't have to go buy the $200 ones.
oh, you mean just buy everybody
Buy
has the
like
same
whatever. No, that can be, but it can be a seal,
one?
a
Okay.
cable seal that's just on the handle, and I buy it for the year.
Okay,
I come and say, okay, I'm gonna use a $2.50 garbage bag every single week for 52 weeks. This is what it costs for that cable seal.
Well, why don't you just do it this way, Dave?
And now we don't have to buy the shit.
Everybody, one day out of the year, or one day a quarter, or whatever, everybody can take their container in and have it certified. They'll fill it up, see what it holds, see what it costs.
32-gallon, we
You
know
get
what a
certified.
32-gallon
Right.
garbage can is. You can go, we
What's
can
that
go
gonna
to
cost?
True Value, we can go and
But I
get a
think once the day, the
32-gallon
thing is, we
garbage
run
can.
into the weight again, and let's say you have 80 pounds in there, well, that's a lot of weight to pick up and lug over, if you had 100 houses like that.
All I'm looking for is right now, we're trying to figure out, does somebody gotta put in a big investment for cans? Or can we cable tie, I don't care if it's a 25-galloner.
But how
I
are
can
we
make it
gonna
permanent, I
limit,
just go in every year and I pay the whole thing right up front.
but
I'm
how
done
do
for the
we,
year. I don't have to get no can, I ain't gotta get no bags,
how do
I
we,
don't have to listen to it here.
how do we address the, volume base then? Because
That's what I mean, that
Uh,
you have to have it,
it's supposed,
depending on the can, you have to have it certified as to what it's worth.
well, no, what's gonna happen is if we bought them cans without the ones that are made for the tipper
Right.
have a lid. And if the lid's closed, then that's a volume. You can't add any more. In that garbage can, if somebody doesn't tie it, or they stack stuff on top of it, it doesn't have a lid, and that's what happens. And you look at my neighbor next door,
And I put mine's out, got a lid on every one that goes out there. And I wanna
yours
take it
is
off
out,
because
and
I'm afraid it's a pain in the ass for them. But I
I,
leave it on.
I
It's
never
like,
get any of your trash, but my neighbors south of me, they have maybe conservatively at least 6 bags plus 2 cans, and the recyclable bin never leaves the street because they don't see it a priority to keep their yard as nice as yours or mine.
Right.
You know, so how do we fix those people that,
You don't pick it up.
yeah, but then I have to pick it up because the
Right.
dogs and yeah. You know, and volume base is wonderful as long as we can get it back to where it should be. And that's where the conversation is it's always been since 91, 30 gallons. And over 30 gallons, people are upset because we're trying to enforce the 30 gallons and the volume based, which this was designed on 30 years.
But I wonder what the weight of the trash has changed since '91, since the recycling.
Oh, well.
It should be down.
Oh, I bet you it's way heavier.
What's that?
The actual weight of the 30 gallons I throw in my garbage can today versus 10 years ago.
And I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's more, but also what's more is our throwaway society.
Yeah.
There's just generally more trash.
Right.
I mean, I
I don't
think back
disagree
then,
with that
people
either.
probably had a 30-gallon can and it was good. Now it's just easier to throw away whatever and go buy a new one. Which
I
is,
mean, I've got
that's sad.
there's 3 people in my household. I've got 2 recycling bins and a dumpster. And I empty the dumpster probably every 6 weeks. And the recycling bins every 2 weeks, but I have 2 of them. But you start ordering from Amazon, and I recycle all that cardboard and wall, I haul it over myself. But there's just, between packing material and food waste and that type of thing, there's just a lot of,
Yeah,
and the stuff that actually goes in the garbage, I know for a fact is heavy because I don't buy the cheap, inexpensive garbage bags anymore because I rip too many. I buy contractor bags because I know how much crap
Is
weighs.
that part of the issue? The bags themselves are not sturdy enough.
You know, I don't.
And the reason I asked that question is because, again, until this came up, I had no idea it was an issue. You know, the little old lady, that's my mom, lives next door. She's
Yep.
got a bag every other week. And I go check, because when there's not one, and it's every other week.
Yeah.
We have like 3, and so we have one of those in our garage, and when it comes time on Wednesdays, I take probably 3 garbage bags, orange ones, out of that, set them on the curb. It's not hard.
Right.
But I guess I'm missing that. And if it's not, if the bags are sturdy enough, then maybe that's the issue. And I get that we need to want to evolve to something, but I think we have a problem we have to fix now. And the problem we have to fix now is that there are people that are not abusing the system. I think to Chris's point, I think she stated very well. They just don't understand. That's not the way this is supposed to work. And so we have to be able to talk to, this is the way it's supposed to work. And then we have a plan going forward that we can evolve to that I think is a great idea. But I think we have to take this in a 2-step process. Because to me, and I was discussing this with somebody in town, and they were giving me a hard time because I've been in the Air Force for 31 years. The Air Force told me how to take my trash out, that's how I took my trash out. And so when I got home and I knew I had to go buy orange garbage bags, I just went and bought orange garbage bags. There may be a better way to do this. And I think there's something worth considering and evolving to. But we gotta fix an immediate problem. And the immediate problem is, people aren't using the system the way it's supposed to be used. I would
Right.
argue.
I would agree with that. You know, and if it's volume based and you can afford to buy all that Amazon stuff, then you should be able to afford to buy the garbage bag to throw all that packaging and all that other stuff away. You know, and I don't have a lot of sympathy for them because my neighborhood has a lot of unlicensed dogs, and when they take their garbage out and the Amazon stuff they leave alone, The food stuff will be in the middle, so they have to dig through the whole pile of bags before they get to what they're looking for. Well, then I can go to the railroad tracks because I own the lot against the railroad tracks. And twice a year I fill my dumpster with the stuff that blows from the south.
But would the can solve that problem?
Would the can would solve that problem if they enforced it not overfilling from the lid.
Yeah.
I think what other communities
Yeah, just
also
put it in
see
the
is when they,
I just chuck the bags out. And
you know,
thing,
when
if
they
get
move
picked
to
up,
the
they do.
can,
If they get torn up, they do.
they said then people were putting things in the trash that they shouldn't have been. So there was less attention to, maybe I should take that to the hazardous waste disposal.
Oh, sure.
Instead, I'm just gonna throw it in my can because nobody's gonna know, because you're not watching that
Right.
can being dumped.
Hide this
That's-
battery in
and
the
that's-
middle of my garbage.
So for us, then on the
Yeah.
back end at the landfill, that's bad for the environment.
Right.
So we take lots of things out of the trash because we don't want them to go to the landfill. I mean, we're trying to do our part to make our environment better as well. And we know that people will do it. And that's unfortunate.
Right, and last
You know.
year Fairmont had 2 garbage trucks burn up on the street
Things do
due
happen.
to
yes.
lithium batteries,
Yes.
which is hazardous waste, and don't put it in the wrong can. But people, because they're a creature of habit and whatever's the easiest and doesn't inconvenience me, that's what I'm gonna do. And that's where the conversation's coming from the people who are complaining, because now they've been inconvenienced or they're confused. Some people are confused, but
And I think those are two different problems. One of them is inconvenience, the other is confused. And I think if I got what you said right, you just didn't know. And so to the point again that you made earlier, they just don't know. And so
Yeah,
this went out
that's
and I
right.
understand it. And again, so the immediate problem I don't see as a huge issue because we had 7 calls. We just have to be able to speak to what this issue is. We may have to take a look at how durable the bags are, I get that. And it would be awesome, you know, given what you're talking about from a future perspective, I think that's great. But I think it's a bit hazardous, pardon my expression, to make the immediate problem bigger than it is.
The tonight was not to make it bigger, it's to educate.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
why I
Yeah.
wanted to stop it becoming a big problem.
Yeah.
But.
I think some people think though that if you had a bin, they think it's gonna be cheaper, but that's not
Not
the issue.
necessarily.
It'll actually be quite a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
They
did, I
think,
did,
they
I
think
did.
that going to buy a bag every week, or 2
Yes.
bags every week is more expensive than what
Yeah.
a trash bin is gonna be.
That's right.
To get, and that's not
Yeah.
the case.
And then we have
No,
to
that's a
decide,
That's a great point. Tony.
is it still fair then to the little old lady who has to pay $30 a month when she was paying $5?
Mm-hmm.
That's not for me to decide. This is just opening the discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really want everybody to think about it, and we'll revisit it again. But we don't want trash to be a problem for people. We want people to just be able to put their trash out, it's taken away, no big deal. And if people are really feeling like angry or upset or about it, then if you talk to anybody, tell them to call me. I'd be happy to talk with people
The
about
part
it.
two of that though is there's also a right way to do it, so that you're
Yes.
not, and the word disrespectful is not the right word, so you're not creating an undue burden on the people that have to pick it up. Because that's not a lot of fun.
That's
And they do
right.
it- And they do a great job, so
Yeah.
being able to do this right, so you make it just a little bit easier for them, I think should also be part of the education process.
I don't know the expense of acquisition of these garbage cans in the first place. You're talking about kind of having a uniform one, but I know Mankato's a larger city, but we have a choice of like 3 different sizes.
Yes,
And
yep,
that's more to your point about
Yes.
like the little old lady versus, cause you
Yep.
get a smaller one. I have the largest one cause I've got 2 teenagers, you know,
Yep.
but, that's.
We have the largest one, trust me.
Yeah, I know.
yes, totally
But
understandable.
that's
Yeah.
where I was thinking about, where we're talking about like a weight issue. Well, you can alleviate that by having, you know, X amount of each size of
But-
those garbage cans.
But then how do you do that when there's, you know, do you just charge more to each household if they have 3 cans in?
The larger the can.
No, but I mean, 3 separate cans.
Oh, wow.
I mean, well, there's households in town that there's 3 families living in that house.
Yes, and there are multiple cans. There are some households that put out 5 cans.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
And
It's
they're
a lot of
over
trash.
the top,
Yeah, it's a lot going on.
and they spend about, if they don't have to cut a lot of bags, about 9 to 10 minutes at some of those residents, and
You know,
if you follow the garbage route around you, it's quite interesting.
come on for a drive along sometime. Anybody's welcome.
So tonight, maybe we're not gonna go to the future discussion
Yep.
of the other cans,
Yes.
but I think it opened up a couple
No, I think that's good.
people's eyes.
That's helpful.
But, still leaving it open, so for future development, if you want to get into purchasing the truck, then we have to look at the recyclables.
Is there any way to have the stickers available at, like, the gas stations?
To do what with?
Well, so people can, like you
wanna use
you're
this?
saying that you're double bagging it, well, then just,
You can
you
switch
go
to
to buy
stickers.
a sticker, you're only using 1 30-gallon bag, you just put the sticker on it.
Super easy. You don't have to do anything with
I don't
bags.
know, I'm not buying any more grocery or garbage bags from anybody except them orange ones. That's what I'm filling my garbage in right in the kitchen, and it's getting thrown on the curb.
Okay.
That is the easiest
It's
way.
the easiest way to do it.
That is.
That
It is
way,
by far,
every
yep.
rodent and animal and everything else can get to them. They take, blow its ass down to the mayor's house.
The good thing, the wind's been from the west, pretty strong, it's
I
in
don't need garbage cans anymore.
So now Lisa,
Yeah.
is it your preference that nobody ties
Yes.
a bag onto the handle?
Yep.
We want to get away from that.
That's right.
Okay,
Yep.
They
so
won't
the
take it.
options are, please either put all your garbage
Yep.
in however many orange bags you need, or use a regular bag and put a sticker on it.
Yes. Yep.
But is there a way that that you could get stickers at the gas stations?
We could.
Is that something that
Yes,
could
we
happen?
Right now, they're just available at City Hall.
City Hall, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
That would be helpful, because you can buy the bags just
Yes,
about anywhere.
anywhere.
That would be supremely helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you could buy the
Yeah,
stickers.
that's a great point.
I actually thought about maybe we should have a vending machine with
Oh, nice.
stickers and bags in it. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be very cool.
Then you can get it at any time.
I know anytime, you don't have to worry about it. Yes. Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you for listening.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank
If
you.
anybody
Thank you.
honestly comes to you and has questions, send them my way. All right?
Very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Don't forget your knife.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, my knife. Actually, I will tell you that,
Dave.
no, someone new moved to town from a larger city, and they said to the guys, "Is this kind of a rough town or something?" And the guys were like, "Well, why? Will you have like 4 knives on each side?" And they're like, "No, it's all good. It's just for bags." So,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Okay. So next on the list is the bill for, Jeff and Tammy Allman's, off sale.
So, I sent out an email last Monday in regards to, this bill. And tonight, the council will need to discuss this bill and, determine how they want to move forward with this, if they want to support it or not. This is our opportunity to discuss it and come to a conclusion.
I guess I like, in the Andy sent where it's itemized. I guess.
Yeah.
I mean.
Minnesota's not like that.
Yeah, I know, but like, if we could the city would control that, I would think, right? But then it's,
Well, no, I think this is gonna be a one-off instance. This is not gonna be a change. This is a change in the bill that is only gonna affect one person, one property,
oh, okay.
just their situation moving
Oh,
forward.
it is.
And it's only, the way it's written, it's only gonna allow wine sale of the affiliated wine that they are selling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very specific after I read the
Yes.
rest of it. It's very specific.
Yeah.
And if we wanted Jeff and he stopped to visit me, if we wanted him to sign a waiver that says, I will only sell this brand at, and he said he'd do anything that, because this would get his profitability to a break-even point at a much faster rate.
Right. And I talked to him too, I don't necessarily even know if we need to go past the way the bill's written, but he said he'd be fine signing whatever. The only problem I could see is if that wine supplier or that, wine producer goes out of business or something, and then he has to find another,
Vendor.
exclusive supplier, then, but as long as it's whatever's affiliated with whatever
His
name that
name is.
becomes, I think it's.
And I brought the language of the bill with me just real quick, because
Right.
that's something that's really important, because it's tightly written.
Right.
And so if he changes who his reseller is or who his retailer is,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. It says,
Right.
may, for off sale of wine sold at on sale by the establishment.
Right,
That language is pretty tight,
right. So as
so.
long as he's selling an exclusive line of wine, he
Yep.
should be able to
Yeah.
sell it both.
My view on that is it's a little bit like, okay, it's kind of like Lost Sanity, but not. I get it that
Right.
Lost Sanity brews their own beer there, but they're gonna bring this in, and they're gonna sell only that product, like Lost Sanity said, only sells what Lost
Right.
Sanity makes.
No.
So then, and I agree with what you're saying, Glenn. And I know when Dave had comments, he wanted to protect our liquor store, and I echoed his sentiments.
Completely agree with that.
100%. After visiting with Jeff and after reading it a little better, I agree with what the bill said. There's one other bill at the, and that's another subject, but there's another bill up there at the Capitol for them, Lost Sanity, to be able to sell six-packs. Do we want to ask Munson to support that one too, while
Well, right now they sell 4-packs,
it's a 4-pack?
yeah,
4-pack.
which they can themselves,
Right.
750
and it's a different size.
can.
Yeah, they
Can
sell them in.
They actually
$100.
produce their product. My question when I talked to Mr. Allman was, is this product something that I can sell in a liquor store? And his answer was yes,
Okay.
But we don't carry
at
it.
this point.
What's the change? If we don't carry it now, are we gonna take it?
You can't, there's why there's 5 of us, okay? I can tell you right now, this is not gonna be a unanimous yes. As soon as you hit the slippery slope, you've already told Casey's, no way, no way.
Because the 3-2 law still exists.
But at some point it won't.
Right. And then we'll have to make a decision.
So we should have allowed them to have 3-2, even though they're not selling 3-2 and paying the state fine?
No, not right now.
I'm just saying, that's what's going on there. Okay? They know they're not selling 3-2 beer,
Yeah.
and they're paying a fine on that. But we opened that up.
I don't think it does.
We did. That would.
I don't
No,
think
it
so.
would not.
Whoever's got the cheapest alcohols, that's where they're gonna go.
But the way the.
What I'm saying, the way this law is written, it doesn't open anything up.
No.
I mean, I'm all for small business, but, you know, business is still a risk no matter what you go into.
Because when 3-2 law is repealed from everything I've seen, the state will have to come up with categorized licensing. Because your grocery stores and your liquor stores, if they're able to sell, they're not gonna carry a full liquor license. They're not gonna no longer carry a 3-2 license, they're probably gonna carry like a malt beverage, seltzer, cider license or something along that lines. That's gonna be a separate license altogether, and at that point, when that license comes out at the state level, we'll have to decide if we're gonna let that into our town with a municipal liquor store. That's a different discussion because of the fact that 3-2 law, we're the only state, but it's still on the books as of today. But yeah, when that law is repealed, which I would assume at some point it will be, we will have to make a decision on if we're gonna let Sunshine Foods, if it is grocery
We own
stores.
a municipality, it doesn't matter if they change that law. It
That-
doesn't matter, we control the municipality.
And you sit, and
There's
you-
nothing that they can do at the state level. That's why Munson and Rosen are asking us if we're okay with this.
you say
Because
that,
there's no options with this municipality outside of whatever this new one is. So here's another question. Can I sell the same wine they're selling
yeah, why not?
after they fire it up?
Actually, no, you can't, according to the law, unless you also open something and you have another establishment, no, you can't.
So we cannot sell that even though they're getting it from a distributor.
Why wouldn't we be able to sell?
When I say we, you're talking about the liquor store.
Liquor
can.
store,
Right, I
right.
thought, okay, my bad.
No, no,
I thought you
no,
said
the liquor
you.
store.
I'm like,
Yeah.
no. No, yeah, liquor store could.
Liquor
Yeah.
store
We could sell the same,
Yeah, absolutely.
same as they have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And probably offer it at a lesser
I
price, maybe, I don't
have
know.
the bill number in front of me.
Hang on, I don't know if I wrote it.
Bill number is, where is it here?
Let's see it. I just put in the legislation. I didn't print
H 276789.
Is that it?
it. Yes.
I think so.
That's it.
89.
Yep, that's it.
89, yeah.
There we go.
So they're basically turning this into a bar with wine offset.
Right.
Yes.
Of that brand,
There you go.
Of that
That's
particular-
of
specific
that particular brand.
Right. So they wouldn't even be
A
able to.
brand of which that we can purchase at the liquor store.
And sell, yeah. You can get it anywhere.
No,
You can buy it
that,
through a
you
distributor.
can't get this brand at our liquor store at this time.
Not at this time, but if our liquor store decided they wanted to buy it from the distributor and sell it there, they definitely could.
They could, yes. The liquor store could also buy from one of the other 200 craft wineries in the state of Minnesota
And they do,
and sell them, and they
because they have.
sell the
Jackass,
ones that they found sell at our
Right.
liquor store.
And this might be one that we would end up stocking there too.
If there's enough of a demand
Right.
in the city of Madelia. Or we might not.
I think wine's a, maybe not.
It's always
I
a
look at it as
slippery,
like
it's always a slippery slope, okay? We've already
understand that, but I
we've
think
already
wine is a
done the
little bit of a
wine that
niche
they're not making,
product.
and they were going off of Evoke, which we had to jump through hoops to get that done. Now we're going through this one. What stops us from the distillants next? What stops us from selling regular beer next? Do we pass this and then now we can do distilled products because we
No.
get that from a craft
I
distiller?
think that's a great point, but that's exactly the point. This law is so tightly written that this is about this specific topic. So anything, the slippery slope is, no, anything else they wanna do has to come back to the council, and then we get to make a decision.
In all actuality, anything else they wanted to do would have to go back to the
Back.
state legislator to pass.
Correct.
Right.
So if they're gonna jump
Yeah.
through all those hoops, then
And the other thing that might not happen, this might not get
Passed at the state level.
through the committee because of the time frame left in legislation.
Right.
You know, it has a good chance, and then because it's a one long sentence bill, it needs to have something else attached. So,
I'm good with this deal.
but, you know, I was in the same boat. I thought, you know, this is gonna open up all those other venues in the state of Minnesota, but it only opens up one, and that's the one on our main street in Madelia.
Right.
And that's the only one at this time that I would like to help out if I could. Because they did borrow money through the revolving fund from us once upon a time, right?
Not for this adventure.
Not for this, but
No, I think that Dave raises a great point. We need to be methodical about this, but I think the way the language is written, it's tight enough till we make this one decision, and then we're focused on if something forward also comes forward, we have to be methodical and thoughtful about that too. But
So
I'm
they're
ex-
applying for a regular bar license then?
They
No,
already have,
They already have that.
they already have a full liquor license.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing this would enable them to do is that person, and the one thing I'm not sure with the bill, can that person actually taste and drink that bottle of wine starting in and seal that bottle and carry it out?
They can
They
do
already
that
can
right
do
now.
that.
They can do that right now.
Oh, they can do that right
Yeah,
now.
so you go in there right now,
Yeah.
you open up a bottle, you take just a sip of it, you like it, and it's open, you can take that out. What you can't do is buy
A case,
a case or a sealed bottle.
or 6 bottles, or
Yeah.
5 bottles, or.
Yeah, and so that's why,
And I do know the people that frequent Medelia and stay in our campground, go to the golf course, go to the brewery, go to Plaza. They like the wine option because now they have one more thing they can do in the city of Medelia. And they would enjoy having more wine at the campground when they're sitting down there. And
so they go in and have a nice bottle of wine, and they like it, and they would like to buy one.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
yeah,
They just can't pop it open, or they don't have to pop it open to take it out.
right.
Or if they find one they really like and they wanna buy 35 cases, they can do that too.
That's a lot of wine.
Yeah.
Some people got a lot of money though.
Well, fair point.
Okay,
So at this point, I would need, if you guys want to support this bill or do something, we could do an appropriate action on it on the agenda.
okay, let's add her to the agenda items and make it number 5, huh?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So then we can move on to the easy one.
The nuisance properties?
The part where I actually have to pay attention to. Although I'm trying to get to the section that you guys are actually talking about, because this bill has been modified and cut up so terrible, I can't even imagine. Anyways, nuisance properties, go ahead.
Okay. I have 3 nuisance properties on the agenda tonight. 23 First Street Northeast, 716 Second Street Southwest, and 808 Main Street West. In your packet, you have 2 letters that I have drafted and I sent to Patrick to look over. These 2 properties have been kind of a nuisance for at least 1 to 2 years. And the first one that I want to go over is the Juan's house, which is 23 First Street Northeast. This property had broken water pipes, and the water was so high in the basement that it was coming out of the windows and running down the street. Nobody has lived there. I have tried numerous times to try to fix the problem with him, and he has not responded. And so I'm looking at ways to resolve this issue because this is becoming a neighborhood nuisance. The other property is Kimes property, 716 Second Street Southwest. Also, a fire took place in the house, and again, the part of the family reached out to me, I still have $40 on my desk upstairs for a demo permit, but nothing has been done in this regards in this property.
What's the easiest way?
There is no easy way.
There
There
is.
isn't.
Send these,
Yeah.
send these letters.
Start the process.
Paper
Start the
correspondence.
But what leverage do we have?
Well, I think that, we give them these options that are laid out by Chris, and then when they don't respond as they haven't, then there's, I think, only really 2 choices that we can make at that point. One would be to go in and remediate the problem ourselves at our expense, assess the property, eventually foreclose, or litigate, sue them for the nuisance, and take the property from them through that litigation process. Either way, you slice the bread. I mean, you're still taking action against somebody's property, necessarily against their will. I think if I was gonna say the easiest way we've seen it is to assess the property until, it eventually becomes ours. That seems to be it's a little bit longer route, I suppose, but you can at least at this point say, hey, we put them on notice that it's a nuisance. We have given them every opportunity to either sell the property to us, remediate the problem, and in one circumstance, years now to do so. You have to take some type of action. Those are the options that you have.
Right.
Neither of them are desirable.
No.
Because you
No.
have, especially when you're talking about the remediate yourselves and then assess and then foreclose. I mean, anywhere in that process, the homeowner can come back and try to redeem from us
Mhm.
and still have it sit to be a bare lot, but at least if we remediate it, then it's not a liability to us. Because the one homeowner didn't have homeowner's insurance. I don't know what the issue with the other homeowner is, and that third property is new to me, so I'd have to get some more information, but at least on those two properties, that's the process we have, and it might still take another year or so till we get to that point. Just like the so-called Royce property took us many years to get us to that point, but I think we're getting a little bit better in our approach, and Chris is certainly staying on top of these, and which in turn makes me stay on top of them, and you too. So that's my advice would probably go the remediation route and have the city incur the expense so that we remove the condition, and then eventually obtain the property through other legal mechanisms.
So as I stated in the two letters, I requested a meeting with both individuals at different times. And then I also stated two different options. One, offering a certain dollar amount for the property, or else the city is willing to demo the property and assess the value of the work to the property taxes over a 5-year period at an assessment rate of 1% over the current interest rate. So.
Where did you pull that $10,000 out of the air, or was that
Yep.
the estimated land
Because,
value?
no, if we acquired the property, $10,000 was a little under the estimated land value, but we also have to realize that if we're acquiring it, we will be taking some extra expenses, and that goes back to like when we did Royce's. If we do an RFP, we have added expenses in that regard, so I believe $10,000 was.
So to slightly adjust your response, you didn't just pull that out of the air.
I
Based
didn't.
that, you based that on the value of the property. So
I
there's
based it-
there's a little science there.
Yes.
It doesn't, I'm fine with the 10,000 too. I was just wondering, in my eye, the property on the golf course is probably, the land value is probably, I didn't look at the.
I don't believe anything went over.
Yeah, but we're not here to pay, I mean,
No,
we're not here to pay fair market value, we're here to.
It may get him moving to
Get it-
sell
get
it.
it.
No,
It
but
might get him moving to
that's
sell
what I'm,
it.
that's what I'm
If he's
saying,
thinking-
is if you offered
he's thinking 10
him,
grand is it,
Oh,
and he
yeah,
sold it
it's
to
awesome.
somebody.
if
for
you
20.
offered both property owners the estimated market value of the land property, it would probably be just as fair, because I also don't feel that the other lot is probably worth
Yeah,
10
not
grand
first.
either, right? So,
I'd be happy about it for 10.
but, I think it's an arbitrary number, no matter what, it's gonna cost a ton more than that, so
Yeah.
it doesn't.
I can't disagree that those two, as I drove by the one on the golf course, I think half the windows upstairs now are missing. You know, and with the threat of all the other diseases and just the people, we gotta do something sooner than later. And the other house, as I didn't drive, you can't see it from the backside of the block.
There's no alley.
There's no alley, so you can't really see the backside, but I assume the backside's probably worse than the front side is, because the trees actually lean against the house in the back. So I'm guessing the windows are missing, and that's probably one of the reasons the neighbors are concerned,
Yeah.
especially with the amount of younger kids in that neighborhood.
Yeah, and because it is so close to the grade school, it is actually probably
A
a bit
nuisance.
higher of a public nuisance from a safety standpoint.
So I'm okay with doing whichever works the fastest.
Sure. Yeah, I'd say definitely send the letters.
You know, because, and then the third one's on the end of Main Street, right?
Yeah, and that one, Rob, do you want to talk about the third one?
Yeah, I think Patrick's familiar with it. Tim handled a lot of the court cases on it, but since 2013, we've had 12 nuisance warnings on that property. We've issued 5 administrative citations, and there's been 6 court citations or court actions taken, you know, against the property with multiple fines levied. The last 2, we had a filing in September of 2020 where there was a requirement to clean up the property with 45 days, and if not cleaned up, sorry about that, that's the last one. The one before that was actually October of 21, and he was given 30 days to clean up the property. If compliance was not met, the city would be allowed to clean up the property. And we were given the same court action then in September of last year, where he was given 45 days, and if not cleaned up, that the city could clean and charge the defendant a $400 fine. So the issue we're having is that I probably get more complaints on that particular property than any other property in town, because the debris is just constantly moving from a little pile to another. The council may recall that you gave that gentleman permission to move a large garage into that property, and I think the hope of everyone, including myself at the time, was that that was going to alleviate some of the debris that was outside, you know, having moved inside. And what really occurred is he simply just brought other people's stuff in and stuck it inside the garage, and his business and everything else continued to end up outside. So, you know, every other month we get a phone call on it. You know, we've sent him to court. He's spent time in jail. At this point, I guess I'm looking for some direction from the council and with the city attorney's help here to try and figure out the best way to remedy this problem. I know that it is going to be a significant expense if the city does come in and end up having to clean up the property and assess it to him. And I think that opens up a can of worms about people coming onto private property and cleaning it up while it's still being occupied, which is different than the Royce property was.
Unoccupied.
So, and having arguments with the owner on what stuff they need to have and what stuff that they really don't need to have, and all those different types of things. But we have campers that haven't moved in years with expired tabs on them. We have, you know, bonfires that have been happening in the backside of the house to burn some of this stuff over the years. And again, we just get multiple calls because it's on Main Street. People are driving by it constantly, and we're continuing to have problems. And I mean, putting them in jail and levying fines doesn't seem to be solving the issue at this point.
Can the county get involved in any way, since
Since it's a county road.
since there is children living at the home?
Well, those issues are separate from the, you know, the issues with
The
the
nuisance.
nuisances, but, you
Yeah, I
know,
didn't know if, you know, that brought on anything with getting it cleaned up.
Well, that would
It's-
get the inside of the house clean.
Yeah, the inside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, the outside.
But it isn't gonna do anything for our problem outside. And, you know, I didn't know until yesterday, you could stack that many kids' bicycles that high in the back of a pickup and not let them fall out. Because he drove by last night, and he has definitely been cleaning again, because he had to have 40 bicycles in the back of that pickup. Yeah.
well, and I had stopped there much earlier in the spring, and it obviously was still cold, and we're just finally getting into some warmer weather, although that seems to be bipolar, as we know. One day it's warm and one day it's not, so it's hard to stay consistent with things, but, you know, I was taking pictures of the property and was looking to send it back over for another court file, and they said, well, don't do anything right now, we're remodeling the basement, and we're getting a dumpster, and we're gonna empty all this stuff out. Well, they did empty quite a bit of stuff out, but there's still a big pile of debris in the backyard, and like I said, we're getting calls on that.
Right, and last week the skid loader was still broke in the driveway, and the concrete stuff was piled up on top of the skid loader because the skid loader didn't run, so he found a new place to store his tools. Which, you know,
I would say there's, you know, comparatively speaking to other property owners in this town, he's got more space, especially with that additional garage in there, than most people do in this community, and yet we just can't seem to keep things inside. It all ends up out in the yard and generates complaints.
Yeah, cause we can keep prosecuting him and sending him to jail. I mean,
but
That's
it
probably what we're
doesn't,
gonna end up having to do.
I don't know.
I don't know what else to do.
It's either, this one's definitely gotta be litigation. I mean, it's not a situation, I mean, he's living there, it's a little bit different.
Yeah,
We
you can't
discussed,
just
we can't
show up and
we
start
can't just
throwing
go-
stuff away.
We can't just remediate unless we get a criminal court order where it allows us to remediate and assess, so.
Well, I mean, and that's kind of what we've got at this point, at least that was the last judgment, and
Yeah, it was from September of 2021.
yeah, it's come and gone, and, you know, we just haven't followed through on anything, because again, if we follow that court order, we're gonna end up having to incur the costs of that cleanup, and so without direction from the council, it's hard to really initiate anything like that.
Was the garage ever completed? Remember it was up on blocks, is it still up on blocks?
I think it's still
I
on
think it's
blocks.
still on
I
blocks.
can't tell, there's so much crap in front of it.
I think it's still on blocks.
Well, he was supposed to complete that.
Because I can remember that actual
Yeah.
city council meeting, because I think both Rob and I were like, no, don't do this, as far as allowing him to put that garage up. Is that a fair recollection?
Yeah, and again, like I said, my only hope was when it was allowed that, you know, maybe we would end up getting the stuff put
I think
inside.
that's what we were all hoping on, actually.
Well, then maybe there's a
don't know.
different avenue in regards to that incomplete structure. They could give us an in, I'll have to, Chris, could you pull because we had to authorize a permit for that property back then, it would've been 2019? That sounds right?
Probably.
Yeah, it might have been longer than that.
It was in the summer, wasn't it?
It was definitely warm weather, when we were in, I know we were in the regular council chambers, so it had
So
to be
it's-
pre-pandemic.
It might have been.
so-
Pre-pandemic.
So
Might have been
summer
17 or
19
18.
Summer 18, something like that. I'd like to look at that permit, if you could send it to me. And maybe I'll have more answers on that one at the next meeting, because I'll have the attorneys in my office take a look at what action we can take for his failure to follow through with that. And then we may just need to, is he still on supervision on the September one? We would have put him on a year probation, right?
I'm sorry, it's the October one. Yeah, it's possible. This went active on November 9th.
I'll look at
So-
the criminal court order to see what authority that gives us, and then we can talk about it at the next meeting as to what you guys might wanna do. I'll give you some guidance and direction on choices on that property.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say overall that we have a, you know, nuisance enforcement is not fun for law enforcement to do, but we're kind of the only ones that have the teeth to kind of give people a deadline and try and get things cleaned up. And it probably generates more complaints for me and probably for you as council members than anything else that the police department does, just because people don't like to be told to take their day off when they want to go fishing and you know, clean up the yard, but
So I
it
think
also helps keep the community looking nice for everyone.
The key point is we gotta do something. We gotta move out on this, and so, Patrick, I appreciate that.
Yeah, we'll get something figured out. Long-term strategy as opposed to short ones that aren't being effective.
2 minutes to 7, sir.
Well, the allocations, everybody read them, right?
Yeah, we can actually address that as, it's in,
Yep.
it's
Then,
an item.
I'll entertain a motion to close the workshop.
So moved. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. We stand adjourned.